Only VIPs went in, or ghosts. 20 minutes later, he was behind the wheel of the sheriff's old truck, badge clipped to his chest, laptop hidden under the seat. The flash drive was still with him, safe, for now, but Miriam wasn't. He had no gun, no backup, only one option: walk straight into the lion's den. The state archives loomed like a bunker built for secrets. Darius pulled up to the front gate, flashed the sheriff's badge. The guard squinted, confused. Didn't think y'all were coming until noon. Got an early lead, Darius said smoothly. Governor wants some old case files prepped. The guard hesitated, then waved him through. Inside, the building felt cold, clinical, too quiet. Darius moved quickly, heading toward the basement levels. If they were holding Miriam, it wouldn't be above ground, not where cameras could catch it. As he passed a hallway lined with portraits, one stopped him cold. It was Rachel Ellis, the governor. Same eyes as Miriam, same steel in the jaw. Only now Darius realized how much they looked alike, and how far apart they must truly be. He turned a corner and nearly collided with a woman in a red coat. She stepped back, startled, then her eyes locked on him. "You're not security," Darius blinkered. "You know who I am." "Yes," she said. "And if you want to save her, you better follow me now." She didn't explain that. She just walked fast, cutting down a side stairwell, deeper and deeper, until they reached a long concrete hallway with locked metal doors. Room C-17. She punched in a code. The door clicked open, and there, strapped to a chair, under a blinding light, was Miriam, bruised, silent, alive. The woman in red stepped back. "5 minutes," she said. "That's all I can buy you before they notice the system's been paused." Darius ran to Miriam's side, unfastened the straps. "I thought I lost you." She smiled weakly. "You're too stubborn to let that happen." "Who was it?" he asked. "Who took you?" She looked over his shoulder at the woman in red dot. Darius turned. The woman nodded slowly. "My name is Dana. I used to work with Carter Bell. I was his fixer. I made problems disappear, until one day I realized I was the next problem." "You switched sides?" Darius asked. "I survived," she replied. "Like Miriam." Miriam nodded. "She was my handler during the extraction. Helped me disappear. She told me to never trust anyone from the governor's team, not even Rachel." Darius stared at them both. "So what now?" Dana pulled something from her coat, a memory stick, marked with a blue ribbon. "This is my copy," she said. "Same footage, same documents. You think one drive is enough? You need insurance. You need to go public. I'll take it to the media." Darius said. "No," Miriam cut in, shaking her head. "You'll take it to Rachel. What, you really still think she'll believe?" "She has to," Miriam said, "because if she doesn't, she's next." Suddenly, footsteps echoed in the hallway. Dana's eyes widened. "They're early. We have to move now." She handed the drive to Darius. "Exit route E4. It connects to the east tunnel. Go alone. They won't expect you." Darius gripped the drive. "What about Miriam?" Dana pulled a pistol from her coat and loaded it. "I'll keep her safe. I know the building." Miriam met Darius's eyes. "I trust her. Go." He hesitated but ran. Through the tunnel, up a side stairwell, out into the blinding white snow again. As he reached the tree line, breath steaming in the cold air, a black SUV pulled up fast. Beside him, a woman stepped out, hair tied back, eyes like razors. "Rachel Ellis." The governor. She looked at him without flinching and said, "Who are you? And why do you have my mother's necklace?" "Tell her who I am." The wind howled between the trees as snow fell in heavy sheets. Darius stood frozen beside the black SUV, heart racing. Governor Rachel Ellis stared at him with eyes full of suspicion and something deeper, recognition. "I asked you a question," she repeated. "Why do you have my mother's necklace?" Darius slowly reached into his coat pocket and pulled it out. The silver chain gleamed even in the grey dawn, its locket shaped like a leaf. "I didn't steal it," he said quietly. "She gave it to me." Rachel's eyes narrowed. He took a step forward. "She's alive." The words dropped like a hammer. Between them, Rachel's face shifted: confusion, then disbelief, then a flicker of something too fragile to name. "You're lying," she whispered. They buried her." "No," Darius said. "They buried a story. But I've met your mother. I saved her life in that snowstorm. And she risked everything to protect you from the people around you." Rachel shook her head. "That's impossible. I saw the reports." Carter Bell personally. Carter Bell tried to kill her. Darius cut in, stepping closer. And now he's setting you up too. He forged her death, stole billions in your name, and he'll pin it all on you when the time comes. Rachel's hands trembled. Then he pulled out the flash drive. Everything is on here, he said. Her confession, the recordings, the deals. You need to see this before it's too late. Rachel hesitated. Then she motioned to the passenger side. Get in. They sat in the back seat of the SUV, screen glowing from her encrypted laptop. For 20 minutes neither said a word as the footage played. The secret meeting, the fake confession, the mock execution order, and finally, Carter Bell laughing as he toasted to cleaning up loose ends. When it ended, Rachel's face was pale. Tears welled in her eyes, but she didn't let them fall. She knew, she whispered, she knew all along they were using me. She didn't want you to get hurt, Darius said. That's why. She ran. Rachel looked at him. Where is she? He hesitated. She's still in the archives building, he said. With someone named Danana, whistleblower. They bought me time to escape. Rachel grabbed her coat. Then we're going back. Within the hour, a convoy of unmarked vehicles swept toward the compound. Rachel used her own credentials to gain access, but this time she didn't come alone. 4 marshals in plain clothes followed her into the lower levels of the building, weapons drawn. They expected resistance, but instead, they found Dana holding a pistol to Carter Bell's head. He was in the server room trying to wipe every file on the internal network. Dana looked up when Rachel stepped in. Nice of you to finally show up, she muttered. Rachel stared at Carter. He didn't speak, but his face said everything. He hadn't planned on her walking in a livelet, alone holding the truth. You underestimated your mother, Rachel said, stepping closer. And me. Carter laughed once, low and cold. You think you'll come out clean from this? You signed everything, every account, every deal. I made sure your fingerprints were all over the money. Rachel didn't flinch. I know. That's why I'm going to tell the world the truth myself. She nodded to the marshals. Take him. They moved in and cuffed him. Dana lowered the gun, finally exhaling. Miriam? Rachel asked. Dana nodded toward the far door. She's waiting for you. Miriam stood alone in a small room, staring out a window. When she turned and saw her daughter, older now, more powerful, more burdened, her eyes welled up instantly. Rachel. Rachel didn't speak. She just walked forward, slowly, as if crossing the years between them. Then suddenly, they embraced. Rachel clung to her mother, like she was afraid she'd vanish again. I thought you were dead, she whispered. I had to let you think that, Miriam said. It was the only way to keep you safe. Rachel pulled back slightly. I wish you'd told me. If I had, Miriam said, voice breaking, they would have killed us both. They stood in silence. Then, Rachel nodded. We end it together now. Over the next few weeks, the story went global. Rachel Ellis held a press conference unlike any other in state history. She exposed the entire scandal, corruption, embezzlement, the false death of her mother, and resigned publicly. On her own terms, Carter Bell was indicted. So were 5 others. Dana testified under protection, and Miriam Ellis finally returned to the world. No longer hidden, no longer hunted. Darius didn't stick around for the press. He went back to driving, back to peace. But one afternoon, while refueling at a quiet highway station, a sleek black car pulled up beside him. Rachel stepped out, now, dressed in jeans and a windbreak, her hair tied back like her mother's. She smiled. I figured you'd be running again, she said. Not running, Darius said, just driving. She laughed softly, then handed him a brown envelope. What's this? Compensation, she said, for saving my mother. For saving me. He opened it. Contracts, letters, job offers. She nodded. We're building something new, clean, real. Want in? Darius stared at her, thoughtful, then smiled. I'll drive, he said. Final line. Sometimes, a single detour in the snow reveals the road you were always meant to take. The end. Don't stop the car. The snow was coming down like a punishment. Thick, fast, and blinding. Darius gripped the steering wheel tighter, leaning forward in his seat to see through the windshield. The wipers could barely keep up. He had just finished a long haul, dropping off a delivery to towns over. Now he was on a back road heading south, hoping to find a diner open this late, or maybe a motel that didn't look like a murder scene. And then he saw it, a flash of movement at the side of the road. He squinted. Another shape, Was it a person? He tapped the brakes, not too hard. The road was slick. The headlights caught it again. A woman, standing just off the shoulder, bare hands waving. His heart jumped. Darius eased the truck onto the icy shoulder and jumped out. Cold wind slammed into his face instantly. He jogged over to the woman. She looked like she didn't belong in a place like this. Her silver-grey hair was soaked, and the snow clung to her eyebrows. Her coat was too thin for this kind of weather, more like something you wear in autumn, not in a blizzard. She looked maybe 70, trembling so hard her teeth clacked together. "Ma'am, are you all right?" She didn't answer at first. Her eyes were unfocused. Her lips were bluish. I'm lost," she stammered. "Come on," he said, gently guiding her toward the passenger door of his truck. "You're gonna freeze out here." "No hospitals," she mumbled. "Please, just drive. We'll get you warm first," Darius replied. Inside the truck, he cranked the heater and wrapped her in a blanket from the back seat. Her hands gripped the fabric like it was a lifeline. For a while, neither of them spoke. He glanced over. "You got a name?" She didn't answer. "Okay," he said, trying to stay calm. "What happened? Were you in a crash?" She looked straight ahead, eyes glassy. "I was on my way to see someone. Family." She hesitated. "My daughter," he nodded. "That's good. We'll call her. Let her know you're safe." Suddenly, she turned her head sharply. "No, don't call anyone, ma'am. She'll be worried, and you need help. You're not even wearing gloves." Her voice dropped, almost a whisper. "You can't call her. She doesn't know I'm alive." Darius blinked. "What?" "I need to get to her. Quietly, please. If they find me, it's over." His stomach dropped. This wasn't just some old woman lost in the snow. There was something she wasn't telling him. A lot of something. He reached for his phone to call 911. Her hand shot out and grabbed his wrist. "Don't." There was no strength in her grip, but the look in her eyes stopped him cold. "I'll explain," she whispered. "Just please, drive." They drove in silence for 20 minutes. Darius tried to focus on the road, but the woman next to him kept whispering to herself. Phrases like "he knows" and "not again" floated in the space between them. He pulled into a gas station, one of those old creaky ones with a single working pump and a sleepy guy inside reading a magazine. The lights buzzed above them. "I'm just gonna get some coffee," he said, unbuckling. "You stay warm." She nodded, trembling, then handed him a soaked folded paper. "Read this inside." "Not before, please." He stared at her for a second, then took the paper and stepped out. Inside the station, the warmth was barely better than outside. He poured himself a cup of burnt coffee and unfolded the paper. The handwriting was shaky, but the message was terrifying. "My name is Miriam Ellis. I am the biological mother of Governor Rachel Ellis. The public believes I died 2 years ago in a car accident. That was staged. I was taken, drugged, held. I escaped last week. I don't know who to trust. They watch her. They control everything. If you are reading this, I need your help, but you must not alert anyone, not even my daughter. They will find me. They always do." Darius froze. Governor Rachel Ellis was practically a household name, a rising star in politics, a tough, no-nonsense leader. Her mother, dead in a well-known accident, was sitting in his truck. Unless this woman was lying, but her fear wasn't fake. Her shaking wasn't fake. Something was real. He turned to leave and froze. There was another car outside now, parked across the lot, a black SUV with tinted windows. Engine running. Watching. He rushed out, heart pounding. The woman saw him approach, and opened the door before he even got there. "They're here, aren't they?" she asked. Darius didn't answer. He jumped in, turned the key. Nothing. The engine clicked. Tried. Clicked again. Dead. The woman gripped the dash with both hands. "Please, we have to go. Now." He reached for his phone. "No service." "Of course not. Snowstorm. Backwards highway. Perfect. What do they want from you?" he demanded. Her voice cracked. "They want me to stay dead. They buried me alive." The SUV idled in silence across the gas station lot. Its headlights were off, its windows tinted pitch black. Inside Darius's truck, the heater had stopped working. His hands trembled not from cold, but from dread. The woman beside him, Miriam, sat frozen. Not in fear, not anymore. Something deeper, like this moment was familiar. Like she'd escaped once before, and now realized. Maybe she'd never really had. Darius reached under the dashboard, fumbling with the wires. Years of fixing old vehicles gave him some tricks. Come on, he whispered, trying the ignition again. Click. Dead. He slammed his palm against the wheel. Don't panic, Miriam whispered. Darius turned sharply. Lady, someone's out there watching us. You hand me a note saying you're the dead mother of the state governor, and now there's a blacked-out SUV creeping up behind us. You're gonna have to give me more than cryptic whispers. She closed her eyes for a long beat, then said something that changed the air inside the truck. They buried me alive. Darius stared at her. They staged the crash, she said, flipped my car, set it on fire. I wasn't in it. They said I died instantly, no remains to identify. My daughter held a memorial. I watched it from a window in a cabin where they kept me drugged for months. His mouth opened, but no words came. I was just a problem, she said. I found something I wasn't supposed to, something she doesn't even know, about her team, about the people around her. They used my death to protect the governor and to silence me. You expect me to believe the state government faked your death? No, she said softly. Not the government, just a few very powerful men who own it from the shadows. Her voice had steadied now, no trembling, only raw, exhausted truth. I escaped a week ago, she continued. I've been hitchhiking, hiding, walking when I had to. They keep eyes on her, on the roads leading to her estate. I thought I could reach her, warn her, but someone tipped them off. They found me outside Lake Point. Darius felt his throat dry up. Miriam wasn't crazy. She was clear, sharp, the kind of sharp that comes from being hunted for too long. Why now? He asked. Why come back after all this time? She stared straight ahead. Because she's in danger, and she doesn't even know it. Suddenly, the truck's rearview mirror caught movement. The SUV door opened. A man stepped out. Black coat, black gloves. He didn't walk like he was curious. He walked like he already knew what was inside the truck. Darius's heart punched his ribs. We need to run, he said. She didn't argue. They flung the doors open and sprinted across the snow. The man shouted something, and another door opened behind him. A second figure stepped out. They ran past the gas station, behind the dumpsters, down an icy slope that led toward trees. Darius's boots slid, but he kept hold of Miriam's arm. Gunshots cracked behind them. Pop. Pop. Snow exploded near their feet. Miriam screamed. Keep going, he yelled, yanking her hand. They darted into the trees, the world suddenly darker, branches whipping at their faces. The storm muffled the sounds behind them, but Darius didn't dare stop. Finally, they reached a tiny hunting shed half collapsed. No door, no lights. They ducked inside. Silence. Darius doubled over, breathing hard. Miriam slumped against the wall, coughing. What? Now, he panted. We wait, she said. For what? For them to leave. And if they don't? She looked him straight in the eye. Then I'll make sure you don't die with me. Darius sat beside her, heart still slamming in his chest. How do you know they won't just find her? He asked. They already have, she said, eyes glassy. They just haven't made their move yet. They needed to get rid of me first, because I'm the only one who knows who the traitor is. Darius leaned back against the cold wood, stunned. So why not go to the press? She smiled bitterly. I tried. One of them met me first. The air was cold, but her story burned. Like fire, there was more, a lot more. Darius could feel it. He reached for his phone again. One bar of signal. He texted his cousin. Call police. Something's wrong. I'm in trouble. GPS on. The message sent. He sighed in relief until he saw movement at the tree line. A flashlight. One. Then another. They were coming, and this time, they weren't just watching. The man in the governor's photo. Darius froze. Two flashlights flickered through the woods like ghosts hunting in the snow. Miriam didn't speak, didn't cry. She just pulled her coat tighter and started scanning the shadows around them like someone who'd done this before. They're tracking us, she whispered. They have dogs sometimes. They wait for fear. People who panic make noise. Darius swallowed hard. How do you know they'll stop if they find us? They won't, she said. They don't take chances. He peeked out the side of the shed. The flashlights were closer now, weaving between tree trunks, cutting through the white fog of falling snow. Then a third light appeared behind them. They were surrounded. Darius motioned silently to Miriam. Stay low, stay quiet. But she slowly pulled the necklace out from under her coat. At first, Darius thought it was just jewelry. Then he saw the tiny silver flash drive hanging from it. This has everything, she said. names, bank accounts, a private recording. I stole it before I escaped. It's why they're hunting me like an animal." His breath caught. "Why? Haven't you gone to the feds?" Her face twisted. "Because the man in charge of the investigation is in the video." Now his hands went cold. This wasn't just about a woman on the run. This was bigger. Way bigger. She looked down at the drive. "They killed 2 journalists, one in Maryland, one in Toronto. Both tried to meet me." Footsteps crunched nearby. Voices, 2 men speaking low-clipped, military-style. Darius grabbed Miriam's arm and mouthed, "Run." But she didn't move. Instead, she reached into her coat pocket and handed him the flash drive. "If they catch us, hide this, bury it, promise me." He nodded just as a beam of light hit the shed. "There." A voice yelled. Darius shoved the drive into his boot and bolted. Bullets cracked behind him. Miriam stumbled, and he grabbed her hand again. They ran, branches slicing their skin, boots slipping in mud and snow. To the right, a slope dropped down to a frozen stream. "No choice," Darius gasped. "Jump." He pulled her with him. They crashed down the icy bank, landing hard on the frozen edge of the water. Darius winced as his elbows slammed against rock. Miriam cried out, clutching her ankle. "Can you walk?" She didn't answer, just tried to stand and fell. Voices echoed above them. They had seconds. He threw her arm over his shoulder. "Come on." The frozen stream curved into a narrow gorge. They followed it, ducking low, sliding, crawling, when the ice cracked underfoot. Finally, they reached a small tunnel under a wooden bridge. Shelter, temporary, but dark enough to hide in. They collapsed inside. Darius breathed hard. The snow muffled the world again. Only now did he realize how soaked they were. His fingers burned from cold. Miriam leaned her head back against the stone. "I didn't think I'd make it this far," she whispered. They had everything planned, every exit sealed. "What did you find?" he asked. "What's on the drive?" She closed her eyes. "A man named Carter Bell. That's the one name you need to remember." Darius froze. That name, he'd heard it. He wasn't political, but the Governor Rachel Ellis had just appointed a man named Carter Bell as her chief strategist. He was on TV last week, standing behind her at a press conference, smiling like he owned the world. Miriam opened her eyes. "He's the one who ordered them to take me out, to keep Rachel clean, to keep their hands on her power." "You're telling me," Darius said slowly, "that your daughter's closest advisor had you declared dead?" "Yes," she said, "and she has no idea." They sat in silence for a moment, snow dripping through cracks above them, forming tiny rivers around their boots. Then Darius asked the one thing he'd been avoiding. "Are you sure she wants to know?" Miriam's lips parted slightly. "She's my daughter," she said. "Of course but she stopped. Her eyes clouded. "She's not the same little girl I raised. She's surrounded, controlled. If I show up without proof, I'm dead. Again before she even sees me." Darius nodded slowly. "Then we give her proof. We give the world proof." She looked at him, tired, eyes swollen from cold and crying. "Why are you helping me?" she asked. He smiled bitterly. "Because you're the first person I've ever met who had to die to be heard." Suddenly a voice barked from above. "Under the bridge, I see them." Flashlights exploded through the tunnel entrance. Miriam screamed. Darius grabbed a rock, ready to swing if he had to. But before he could even move, a loud crack split the air, and the flashlight fell, dropping into the stream like a star being swallowed by darkness. A man stood behind the beam. Not the enemy, a sheriff. Gun raised. "You're not so should be alive." The sheriff stepped into the stream, gun steady, boots crunching, ice hands. "Where I can see them," he shouted. Darius slowly raised his hands, heart thudding in his throat. "We're not armed." Where then the beam of the sheriff's flashlight landed on Miriam's face, he froze. His eyes widened, his mouth opened, slightly, then closed like he'd seen a ghost. "Miriam Ellis," he whispered, voice trembling. "You're not supposed to be dead." She cut in, her voice firm. "Believe me, I know." The sheriff looked stunned, truly stunned, not pretending. He lowered his weapon, blinked, then stepped forward cautiously, like his brain couldn't catch up with his eyes. "My God," he muttered. We buried you." "No," she said coldly. "You buried a lie." The man swallowed, eyes darting between her and Darius. "Sheriff Holden," she said, "you knew my husband. You used to fish with him." "Yeah, I did," he said, rubbing the back of his neck like he couldn't believe any of this was real. "But that crash, It was confirmed. DNA reports from the capital. They were forged, she said. And now the same people who signed those reports are hunting me. Sheriff Holden blinked hard, then leaned down and helped Miriam to her feet. Come with me, he said. We'll get you warm, and we'll figure this out. Darius hesitated. How do we know we can trust you? The sheriff looked him dead in the eye. Because if I was in on this, you'd already be dead. Darius didn't relax entirely, but he nodded. He helped Miriam limp behind the sheriff, back through the snow and woods, until they reached an old Ford patrol truck hidden under pine branches. The sheriff cleared the windshield and drove. They said nothing for several miles. Only when the cabin appeared a rundown ranger's shelter with no obvious security did Darius finally speak. You've got a phone, one that's not tracked. Holden nodded. One inside. Why? Darius pulled the flash drive from his boot. Miriam stiffened. Darius turned to her. You sure this is the only copy? She hesitated, then nodded slowly. Okay, he said. Then, we need to watch it. All of us. Inside the cabin, they set up a laptop on a dusty wooden table. The sheriff locked the door and closed all the blinds. Darius plugged in the drive. Miriam paced the room, wringing her hands. Then the video started. It was grainy black and white footage from a hidden camera. The angle was high, like it had been placed inside a vent or bookshelf. The setting. A rich private office. The date stamp. 14 months ago, 3 men sat at a desk. One of them, instantly recognizable, was Carter Bell, the current chief strategist. To Governor Rachel Ellis. Another man wore a badge from the state's Treasury Department. The third was harder to place. The footage had no sound, but Miriam's voice filled the silence. That's when they agreed to push a $1 billion deal through shell contracts. Rachel didn't know they kept her out of the room. Carter said she was too clean to be trusted. Darius watched as one of the men slid a folder across the desk. Another pulled out cash. They laughed, shook hands. Then Carter stood up and showed a phone screen to the others. He tapped it, showing a video. The men all leaned in. Miriam's voice cracked. That's the moment they watched a deepfake of me saying I'd found out that I was going to the press. They fabricated my confession to justify what came next. Darius felt his stomach twist. In the video, Carter mimicked a throat-slit motion with his hand. Then he smiled and said something. Miriam whispered, reading his lips. No body, no press, just ash. The screen froze. The room was dead silent. Sheriff Holden stood up slowly. His face had gone pale. Holy God, he whispered. This is treason. It's worse, Miriam said. It's murder, fraud, manipulation. They don't care about Rachel. They're using her. If she finds out too late, they'll bury her too. Darius clenched his fists. She needs to see this, he said. Your daughter? Sheriff Holden nodded. She's scheduled to be at the state capitol tomorrow morning. I can get us in, but it won't be easy. Won't she be surrounded by them? Darius asked. Miriam stepped forward. She always is, she said. But I know how to reach her alone. Her mother, the woman she thinks is dead. They started to plan. Routes, credentials, disguises. Sheriff Holden agreed to use his old ranger badge to escort them close. It would be risky, but once the governor saw the video, if they made it that fair, it would all unravel. They stayed up most of the night preparing. Then, just before dawn, as Darius stepped outside to check the road, a gunshot rang out. He spun around and saw the front window of the cabin shattered. He ran back, and Miriam was gone, and scrawled across the floor in muddy black ink was a single word: traitor. She never escaped alone. Darius burst through the shattered door, heart pounding like a war drum. The inside of the cabin was chaos, glass, blood, and silence. Miriam, he shouted. No answer. The sheriff lay on the ground, groaning, hand pressed to his bleeding shoulder. He was alive, but barely. Darius knelt beside him. Who was it? He asked, voice shaking. The sheriff blinked up at him, dazed. She knew him. That's why she didn't scream. Said his name. Whose name? The sheriff tried to speak, but he coughed hard, spitting blood. He. He was one of hers. From the past. Darius stared at him. One of hers. The sheriff nodded faintly. She never told you everything. Miriam never escaped alone. Before Darius could ask more, a siren wailed in the distance. Not police, something else. Maybe backup for whoever took her. He helped the sheriff too. The coroner left him with bandages, then rushed outside. Tire tracks cut through the snow. heavy duty, not civilian. He followed them for a mile before they veered onto a private road, one Darius recognized from his deliveries, a restricted compound, government-owned, and he knew exactly where it led. The State Archives building closed to the public, guarded day and night.